So, you have learned the terrible truth.
Alright, so this is going to be my review for the new movie Sausage Party from 2016. I just watched this with my friends over the weekend. I was really pretty excited for this, or at least pretty interested. It's written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. Everybody probably knows Seth Rogen by now, the comedian. Him and his writing partner Evan Goldberg, wrote movies like Superbad and Pineapple Express and This Is the End. So they're getting to be really well known for being pretty good writers. I guess this is a movie project they've had in the works for quite a while. Kind of started off as just a joke, and you kind of tell from the title, Sausage Party. But it just has a really interesting premise because it's a pretty hard R-rated animation, so that's that's the big stick to it. That's the big novel idea, is that what if the whole premise is, what if the food was anthropomorphic, kind of like all these animated movies make cars that talk and toys that talk and give them personalities, or even all the animated animals and stuff like that, give them personalities and anthropomorphize them and make us feel feelings about them and whatnot. So the whole idea is, well, what if it was the same thing with our food? So it was kind of, the biggest movie connection is like Toy Story with food, but it's also rated R. So basic plot is that it revolves around this grocery store and all of the food that's in it, and their whole goal is to be taken home with people, shoppers, whatever. They call it the Great Beyond, so they all want to go to the Great Beyond. It means that they get bought and get taken home and gonna get eaten. But Seth Rogen voices the main character, Frank. He's a hot dog. They call him sausages, but he's the main guy. And then Kristen Wiig is his, I don't know what you call it, companion, Brenda. So she's a bun, and they've been, they're made to be together, of course, hot dog and a bun. And then there's a bunch of other supporting cast. A couple of the other hot dogs are voiced by Jonah Hill and Michael Cera. Pretty funny. So what happens is that they're in the store, they're going to get bought together, and then there's an item that gets returned, voiced by Danny McBride, the Honey Mustard, comes back to the store, and he starts freaking out because he's saying that the Great Beyond is a lie, it's not what they think it is, and he's just spazzing out. And while he's in the cart with them, he's going to do something crazy, and they'll try to save him, and eventually Frank and Brenda get thrown out of the shopping cart. And so their whole goal is to try to get back onto the shelf so they can get bought again. And they want to just be bought together so they can be together. And kind of takes a turn where Frank starts to become invested in figuring out what the Beyond is, and why Honey Mustard was saying that it wasn't, what they all thought it was. And then Brenda just really wants to get back to the shelf and get bought. She doesn't want to deal with any of the nonsense that Frank is interested in with the Great Beyond and stuff. That's the basic premise. A lot of other side characters come in and supporting voices, a lot more than you'd think. One that surprised me was Edward Norton. Is pretty funny because he plays Sammy the Bagel, and he's doing he's doing a Woody Allen impression, so it doesn't sound like him at all. It's really funny. A couple other main characters are played by Nick Kroll is like the villain. He plays a douche. And so he's the villain. Selma Hayek is Teresa Taco. And then there's Bill Hader does a couple voices, mainly Firewater from the liquor aisle. Paul Rudd's in there. Craig Robinson. A bunch of other people. David Krumholtz is probably one of the other main guys. Plays the Lavash. So anyways, those are a lot of characters. It's pretty funny. It's actually, it has an R rating for a reason. It's tons of swearing. Uh, pretty. It's not like there's no like violence because it's animated, but and it's not like bloody or graphic or anything like that. But I guess graphic if you were food, graphic violence if you were food, and then there's some pretty. One of the most hilarious parts is like a sex scene. It's pretty funny. um, but yeah, overall, it's pretty funny. We were dying laughing at multiple points. It's very very no holds barred. It just really lets you have it with the jokes, and it's not politically correct or anything like that. And it does a lot of stereotyping of what uh, ethnicities certain foods might be, stuff like that. So if you're easily offended, you'll probably be really offended by this movie. But it's funny. I'm giving it a 3 out of a 5. I think it's definitely worth a watch just for the novelty of it. It's just really, really funny and interesting to see animated movie like this that we expect from like Pixar or DreamWorks or something, and have it being R-rated movie is just really funny. I think this was done by Sony ImageWorks. They've done other like kid-friendly animation stuff. I think they did like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and a couple other ones, Smurfs, stuff like that. So it's worth a watch just to see them go in that direction with an animated film. Like I said, it basic premise is kind of like Toy Story, in the sense that instead of toys coming alive, the food comes alive. And then also South Park, the movie, the bigger, longer, and uncut. I think that was actually the last R-rated animated film, so it has a lot in common with that too, I think. With comedies in general and animated films, I don't necessarily recommend you have to see it in the theater. It'd be nice to maybe support this movie just so that you could see other R-rated animated films. There's a lot you can do with animation, and so I think it doesn't always have to be reserved for G and PG movies. It could very easily be something for adults, and I guess this is a step in the right direction to just see more interesting and creative stuff in the animated field. So it's worth it to see it for that, I guess. But yeah, you can definitely wait to rent it later. But yeah, I don't think I have too much more to say, so I'll just end it there. All right.